So many people think that whenever you live in Texas, you live on a huge ranch, you ride your horse to work with your cowboy hat on. Well, I'm going to tell you that living in Texas is probably close to the same as the place that you live in now. Being a lifelong resident of Abilene, Texas, I'm going to debunk a lot of these myths. People always think because there's just so much land in Texas that you can come in the middle of the city and buy a couple of acres for really cheap. Well, that is not the case. In the city, you can usually find a half acre or less, and it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. Whereas if you go outside the city limits, you can find an acre to 100 acres, just depending on what you're looking for. Now, the cost is going to be dependent on if it is a subdivision outside the city limits, or if it's hunting land, ranch land, or what the use is. Something that not everybody thinks about whenever they're moving to Texas are snakes, scorpions, and all the other little critters. So whenever I am pulling weeds, because I live outside the city, whenever I stick my hand into a shrub, I am always on guard to make sure that I do not see a rattlesnake. Now, I will say, living outside the city, you are more apt to see rattlesnakes than inside the city, but we have seen rattlesnakes inside the city too. So you just always want to be careful and on guard. To me, the creepiest little thing that we have in Abilene are scorpions. Now, you're mainly going to find scorpions outside city limits, but you can find them inside city limits also. They are usually there whenever it is drier and it hasn't been raining. I recommend getting your house sprayed quarterly. I always get my attic fogged. I just tell them I see a scorpion, even if I don't. So that way I keep those critters out of my house. The other thing that I find in my backyard all the time are wasps and bees. Just watch out for them because they are always out. The other thing in Texas that we have are ants. In fact, we have an ant bed right behind me, so I had to move up so that I didn't get stung by a bunch of ants. Now, if you live out in the country, you might see a coyote. In fact, I've even heard of the coyote living on one of our golf courses that's in town. But outside city, you're even more likely to see the coyote, the mountain lion, or the bobcat. Let's talk about the culture in Abilene. It is a very laid-back town. People are pretty friendly. And as my friend Rudy Fernandez likes to say, it is the buckle of the Bible Belt. So you're gonna find a church on almost every single corner in Abilene, and almost all of the town shuts down on Sundays. We are also home to Dyess Air Force Base. Abilene loves supporting our military. The Air Force gives out an award every year for community support and involvement. And because Abilene has won it so many times, it has become known as the Abilene Trophy. So Abilene really supports the military. Before we go on to our next Texas misconception, let me introduce myself. My name is Tonya Harbin. I'm a wife, a mother, a realtor, and an Abilene native, and I help hundreds of people just like you relocate to Abilene, Texas. Comment anything that you would like to learn about Abilene, and make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. All right, let's get back to our show. So the weather in Texas, what is it like? In the summers, we have a lot of 100+ degree days. Sometimes we even have 30+ days of over 100 degree temperatures. But the average temperature in the summertime is probably the mid-90s. I love it because I love warm weather. So right now we're in May, and today the high is 96. The winters are a little bit cooler. Sometimes it snows once a year. Sometimes it snows 4 times a year. You just never know what it's gonna be like. We do often get a lot of ice. And the thing is, when it is icy here in Texas, everything shuts down because we are not made for ice and our roads are not plowed like if some of you are coming from Colorado. So it's just different here, but it's a lot of fun because we have a lot of snow days whenever it is icy. The other thing is, Chicago may be known as the Windy City, but I promise you, they've got nothing on Abilene. Abilene is extremely windy. Today is actually one of our calmer days. My hair is not blowing everywhere, but a lot of times you go outside and the wind just almost blows you over. Housing. So one of the biggest misconceptions about living in Texas is that you're gonna get this huge house on a lot of land for a very small price. Well, that is not the case. In 2010, the average price range in Abilene was about $150,000. But now, here we are, post-COVID, and all of you are moving to Texas, so our prices have gone up. The average price last year in Abilene was about $250,000, which I'm gonna say is still really, really affordable to live in Abilene. So it depends on what kind of house you're getting. So if you're living in town, the houses could be a little bit cheaper. If you're living outside of town and you've got some land, your prices could go up to anywhere from $1 million or $2 million, depending on the house and the amount of land that you're getting. So what kind of house do you get in Abilene, Texas? Well, a lot of our houses are brick and stone. We've got a couple of stucco and maybe a few that are siding, but brick is probably the most popular. Most of our houses are 1 story. We don't really have basements here because of our soil. We do have a few houses that have upstairs bonus rooms, but for the most part, just 1 story, 3 and 4 bedroom houses. What kind of house are you looking for? Well, you can always give us a call at 325-603-8110. We would love to help you with your move to Texas. You are gonna find a smaller lot just like where you live in the city.